Welcome to the Point of Convergence podcast. I am your host, Grant Lira. Get ready to sit down, tune in, and implement. Remember, the knowledge you learn here and anywhere else in your life is only worth something to you if you use it. So get implementing after this episode and enjoy. All right, welcome back to another episode of Remodeling Millionaires. Today, we are joined by Bryan Sebring of Sebring Design, Build, and Remodel. From Legos to making beautiful homes. How are you doing today, Bryan?
I'm doing good. I didn't realize Millionaire Remodels is the name of the podcast. I'm definitely not a millionaire by any means.
Not yet.
Maybe someday, yes.
You're making the moves to it though, because I was on your website earlier and I was looking around a little bit, and you guys have a lot of content on your website, from like blogs to press to other articles, stuff like that. So that's all the right moves, to get somebody to that spot. I would say it goes hand in hand together. How do you go about like finding that stuff? How do you go about actually getting into that stuff? Because I know a lot of people have issues doing that naturally.
The story goes like this, and I've been in business 20 years. 5 years ago, I was kind of sick of handing that to somebody else. And losing a lot of money. I probably hired the wrong people, if you know what I mean. I built out my website, spent $15,000 on a website rebuild, and my SEO tanked. I came to them and said, "What's going on? I'm not getting any calls." And they're like, "Oh, now you have to spend $5,000 a month on pay-per-click." I'm like, "What? I don't have that money to do that." And so that was where I got pissed off enough, to be honest with you, where I started to go online. There's plenty of education on this online. You just I dove down the rabbit hole, if you know what I mean. And so I went pretty far, to the point where I purchased courses on how to do digital marketing. I actually even did affiliate marketing, courses on that, to understand the strength of a website and understand, basically, people don't realize that you can see what your competitors are doing. It's the only area of business that you can actually see what your competitors are doing and what they're trying to do, and you can try to beat that. And for me, it's not really beating the competitor. It's about being up top when people are trying to search us on the website. Predominantly, that's what I did. So yeah, honestly, 2015, my wife will tell you that every evening while we were watching TV, I was on my laptop trying to figure out how to learn this and do it. And it's very time consuming, but for me, I wanted to be able to have more control over that, I guess. So I end up hiring an in-house marketing person and set up processes, and someone else, he does it. To be honest, I work in WordPress. So WordPress is very easy to use, but I didn't set up the WordPress. I didn't set up the website. Someone else did that, and I just do. And I actually don't even write a lot of it. I have a lot of ghostwriters. I come up with the keyword phrases and stuff like that, but I have a lot of other writers do it. And then I review it and change it and tweak it and make it better,
Yeah. And something interesting that you said there was, you talked a little bit about courses. And I know that we've never talked about that on this podcast, but I think it's something really interesting, because looking at courses, there's a ton of them out there online, like a ton. So sifting through, I'm a personal believer that mentorship is extremely important in entrepreneurialism. So how did you kind of decide what course was right for you? How did you, trust somebody enough to, give them your money to learn that skill?
They put out a ton of free content. I saw how they taught. I learned from the way they taught. They taught over-the-shoulder training, not philosophical training. It's, let me show you exactly what I did. Let's open up the computer. Let me show you exactly the tools I used. A lot of those tools cost money, but I did this. This is the result. And digital marketing, I think, was the first industry to do that. Now there's other industries doing that. You go on YouTube and find almost any industry, it feels like. But basically, I found a couple guys that put content on YouTube for free, and I'm like, holy cow, this actually works. They literally show you how to do it. It was 5 years ago, that wasn't a very common thing. Now it's very common, but they literally show you, and they didn't even have a paid program. They came from They owned a business for SEO and didn't like being in that business anymore. And then they were doing their own affiliate marketing. And they started showing people. And it was probably a couple years in of me watching all their free content. It was like, now we're going to actually give you step by step by step by step to create this. And I'm like, of course I'm going to hand you my money. I got all this free content from you. And back, it was a couple grand. Now it's even more, but I mean, they said lifetime membership. We're going to keep updating it, and we'll pay for it with new members. And you'll have this nice Facebook group where there's a ton of knowledgeable people that you can be a fly on the wall or you can participate in. And that's how I learned, just from other people bringing things up. I know about Google algorithms by my Facebook group saying, "Hey, did you guys notice a Google algorithm update this? I've gotten a loss in traffic," and just understanding all that, and understanding the whole idea of what like a do follow link or a no follow link are. Like if I talk to another contractor, it's like their eyes glaze over. They don't understand that. And they don't understand if I give you a do follow link to my website, how valuable that is. No one knows it. No one cares. And so it's me understanding it where most business owners in my field won't understand that.
Yeah. And that's something too, where like, I feel like a lot of people in this field, they're not necessarily as savvy technology side, and that isn't an issue, if they want to hire out. But I think a lot of the times learning that yourself is something when you're in the beginning stages, you're not super busy, can be something where you can absolutely do it. And there's so much value online, like you said, a lot of it for free, that it's could literally like blow your business up if you just take it and implement it. You have to implement it though. You can't just watch the videos and do nothing with them. How important do you think that was, like learning from somebody who knew what they were doing and gave you the step-by-step to get to where you are now? How much that helped you out?
And that was the entire thing. I mean, that's the way I learned. I got to say, the number one problem between digital marketing and a remodeler is that the remodeler doesn't understand digital marketing. Digital marketers don't have to understand remodeling. It has to go the other way around. And I have said this to hundreds of remodelers. I'm involved in a national organization where, we sit around the bar at, 10 o'clock at night and they complain about their digital marketing agency about wasting money. And I'm like, when you spec out drywall on a project, you know how to do it. You don't do it, but you know how to do it. You know what to expect. That's good. You know a bad job and a good job. But when you go hire a digital marketing person, you don't. And so I've always said to digital marketing people, the number one way to grow a client and keep them for life is to teach them what to expect from their dollars. The amount of money I give a digital marketer, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever that is, $5,000 a month. Okay, what should I expect? And what I expect in revenue, and then clearly, regularly communicate how it's going. So many digital marketing people go and say, give me $3,000 a month for a year. And then after a year, don't understand why they walked away, right? Because there's no communication of how you're doing. There's no partnership with that. And so that's probably number one. I know how to do plumbing. I don't do plumbing, but I understand it. And I understand my plumber and how well he does, because then I can appreciate him. I can appreciate what he does and the quality of work he does. So I'm going to keep hiring, and his value, right? I mean, depending on what you charge, you may be cheap, you may be expensive. As a digital marketing person, I have no idea, and how do I find that out? So I've always said, if you could create a course to teach remodelers or any business how to track to make sure your digital marketing person is doing a good job. That's the hardest thing.
That's a really good concept. And I like that too. And I agree. I think no matter what you're doing, setting the correct expectations up front so people know what to expect and not over promising like so many people in almost any industry do, sets you apart leaps and bounds from, the other guys or the other people, whoever. Setting those expectations, whether it be digital marketing, whether it be home remodeling, right? You got to make sure those expectations are set. The people know the deliverables they should expect. They have a timeline and they can track the progress, right? Because you want to be able to know where everything's at. Where is this money that I'm throwing into, the void of the internet going? What is happening here? A lot of the times that's a big disconnect. So setting those expectations and really making sure that the person you're working with knows exactly what to expect every single month, if not week. I mean, yeah, that's huge.
I mean, good example. I don't know if you do this, but I was talking to another guy that got a proposal from a digital marketing saying we're going to get you 10 links a month. I'm like, it's like saying nothing. Doesn't tell me what type of links, how powerful those links are. Are they other remodelers? Are they garbage links? I mean, and so I'm like, well, ask him where is he going to get them for? What should I expect with, understand what domain rating means or domain authority from getting links, and are they no follow or do follow? And because that means nothing to you. I mean, it really means, and so when I get guys calling me all the time and say, well, will you look at this proposal? I'm like, well, it's going to tell me how vague they are or how detailed they are by this. And most marketing people don't go through the details because they think that the remodeler doesn't care about the details. And probably a lot of them don't. And so my critique of remodelers is stop your eyes from glazing over when I talk about this and listen and learn it, because it is the lifeblood of your business. If you don't have leads, so many people use referrals as a lifeblood. I get that referrals are great, but if you want to grow your business, you've got to create new roots and new trees from a lead from Facebook or Google. Or, I mean, yeah, they're lower closing leads, but if you can close one of them, that's just a new route you can grow from a referral from them. And so I would just say, I mean, this is like the start of your business. Understanding that this is going to tell me if you're going to be a $500,000 revenue remodeler or a $5 million revenue. So, I mean, it's really important. It's just most people don't take the time to understand it.
Yeah. And so many people do rely on those referrals. And like you said, referrals are great, right? Because they already know you, they trust you to an extent. Like they've seen the work you've done, they've heard the experience firsthand. Referrals are awesome, but you can't really predict referrals, right? There's no exact cause and effect. Sure, doing a good job and asking for referrals could be like a pseudo cause and effect, but where you have digital marketing, running Facebook ads, pay-per-click, whatever it may be, that is a direct cause and effect. You can track every inch of that. You can track every penny of where that money is going to make sure that you're actually, on track to grow your business, right? That's the biggest thing, is taking that. And then in addition to growing out your digital footprint, because so many people nowadays online, before they ever work with somebody or buy something, they're doing research on you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They're doing research on you, right? So just make sure.
I hope they do.
Exactly.
I hope they do. I mean, the people that don't, people that call me and said, "Oh, I haven't been on your website," I'm like, that's not a good lead. And so that's tough. Like, how can I? It's most remodelers treat their website like a business card, like a really big, glorified business card, right? Let me show you some pictures of me. Let me show you my phone number, how to get a hold of me, and that's good. Don't get me wrong, that's a good start, but the more people, if you look at my website, I have are we the right fit for your project, right? I'm trying to get people back to that. So, because I get a lot of leads, but there's not all of them are necessarily what we do. And so the more I can qualify people on my website, for me, I need that, just because we're a medium-sized business. We're not a huge, juggernaut, but we're not tiny. So we need leads, but we also need good leads. So I would say referrals and past clients and networking are all important. I don't want to push that away. That's a portion of your marketing, just like maybe Facebook should be, maybe SEO, maybe, SEO is a marathon, not a sprint, but you have to put some regular time or money. It's one or the other. For me, I've put time and I've put money in an employee, not necessarily an agency, but but networking is that way too. You got to take time, and when you're busy and you're not networking, you're not getting more referrals. It's the same thing. But it's easier to understand what networking is compared to digital marketing for most people. So
definitely. And yeah, I was on your site earlier today, and like I was saying at the beginning, actually here, like looking at your site, you have a bunch of different stuff. You have content that is, free. It's something where people, if they are doing their due diligence and they can actually research you, learn more about you, see what you guys are all about, watch some of the videos, that's huge. Because what you can do in that situation is take somebody from a prospect who just landed on your site, run them through a few videos, run them through a few articles, whatever the case is, turn them into a fan. They're like, oh, dude, I like, this is cool. Like Bryan Sebring, I like these guys. They do really good work. Okay, now I've done my homework. Now I'm going to reach out, and guess what? I'm already indoctrinated. I already know about you guys. I already know your mission. I already know the work you do. I just got to set up a time for you to come out to my house.
And I've had people tell me that's a great lead, right? I've had people come out to us and say, "Hey, by the way, I watched your video and I saw your wife and your kid, my wife and my kids are in my video. And it's just really good video. And it made her realize that we are 90% chance going to get the job. As long as everything else, all the other T's get crossed in the I's, everything balances out with price, all that stuff, we're going to be more likely to do that. I will say that it is difficult to get people to take that time. So many clients, so many people spend more time planning their vacation than $100,000 remodel. And so they don't. So, I mean, that's the one thing I teach these. Well, it's been a while before COVID. Everything is before COVID now. Before COVID, I used to teach workshops on how to hire a contractor. And that's a big portion of them. Like, take your time. I mean, take your time and make sure. And what I also tell people is don't get 5 people in your house. Call 5 people. Say you want to talk to the owner or a salesperson and start asking them questions and detailed questions. Why do you do this for a living? Tell me, Mr. Contractor, you've been in business 10 years. Why? Because I like remodeling? No. I mean, for me, it's a passion that I like that interaction with the client. I like to get to know people. I like to connect. I want to bring up this industry. So I tell people, talk to 5 contractors and then call out 2 of them, meaning have them come, only 2 of them come over. Ask the important questions over the phone. Don't waste their time, and just narrow it down to 2 and then get to know them better in person, like a date. You know what I mean? Like a first date, right? Do I trust this person to be in my house and live with me the next 3 months? And so, but yeah, anyway. So yeah, I try to teach, but homeowners don't always do that. They say, just come on over to my house and let's talk. They don't do any research.
Yeah. And that's an interesting point too, because that trust in this industry where you are literally letting a stranger into your home, if you can turn that stranger, for instance, you would be a stranger to a prospect that doesn't know anything about you. If you could turn yourself from a stranger into like almost a celebrity or like somebody who they are familiar with through videos, through blogs, through whatever other form of, I don't want to say indoctrination, but like, that type of thing where they see you and they see that exposure, there you go. And Bryan, something I also want to touch on, something you said earlier, that client who saw your video, they saw your wife, they saw your kids, they saw all that stuff. You knew you had the job. Like you knew. Because you had that content put out, they already made that connection with you. People love that human element. And when you go on a lot of these these interior remodeling websites, you've seen one, you've seen them all. They're pretty much the same thing. Now, when you have somebody who's taking the extra time, putting the extra money into it to actually make, something where you can truly look into your life and see a little glimpse of what's going on in your day-to-day, what's going on with your kids, your family, that goes a long way with people. That goes so far with people.
Yeah, I've been on a lot of remodelers' websites just because I get a lot of people, because I'm on podcasts like this and they call me. And so the first thing I do is go on the website. And what is the first page I go to? I believe that the first page people go to, and actually I use HubSpot, so I track where people are on my website. And when someone goes to my About Us page, it's a much better lead. When someone actually wants to know who we are as a company and doesn't just immediately go to fill out the form to have me call, it's a much better lead. And so I don't understand why contractors don't have an About Us page. I mean, the rest of the website should be about the homeowner. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of Story Brand, but the whole idea of us being the Yoda and they're the hero, like they're the Luke Skywalker and we're the Yoda and we're just there to help them. I agree. The whole website should be on that except for the About Us page. And you should be talking about who you are as a person, not about your accolades necessarily as a contractor, about this is who I am as a person. This is why I do what I do. This is my family. I'm not a fly by night. If you did that, you're going to be more likely for a homeowner to connect with you. And that's what you're trying to do on that website, is connect with you and your team.
So we talked about this a little bit earlier too, Bryan, but because I know you want people to land on that About Us page. A lot of people should. How have you been trying to drive traffic to that page? Are there things you've tried, things you've tried that haven't worked? Because I have a few ideas, but I want to hear from your firsthand experience if you've ever directly tried to drive traffic and treat it almost like a landing page.
I will say two things that come to my mind is that we've done bios on Instagram. Hey, this is, our designer. She has this amount of history. Check her out. And, we can certainly link to that or, but yeah, so I have two designers that go meet with clients. I meet with our past clients, but they meet with anybody new. And part of our, standard email we send out, hey, I just want to let you know, I passed your information along to Victoria or Nikki, and here is their bio. Check them out before so you understand who they are. So they go to that page, and not only it's a bio for everyone at the team, not just them. And so they get to meet them, get to see a face of who they're coming in, and then they also learn more about me as well. So every single person, I also have it for me too. So if I have to go to a client that's not a past client, I will send it out. If you want to learn about me, look before I come out this. And then I also have, which touches on different things. I also send out, again, these standard emails where it says, hey, and this is our process, because I'm selling a process, not a pretty design. I'm selling how we do that makes it easier. And then I send them our pricing guide. So those are the three things: process, pricing guide, and maybe some portfolio, but also more about us, about what we do and who we are. Because I want them to connect. I also want them, the best, it sounds weird, the best call to get is someone saying, hey, I looked at all that. I saw your pricing guide. We were only planning to spend 20 grand and it looks like this is going to cost 60 grand. So you can cancel the appointment. Hey, that's great. Honestly, it saves both of our times. If it's not a right fit, it's not a right fit. We want to get to know as fast as possible than to waste our time chasing after someone that doesn't necessarily fit what we do and the prices we charge.
And what you just said there was so, so, so powerful, because I feel like, especially when you're like in the beginning stages of your business, you want to talk to everybody. You want to give everybody that time. You want to make sure that like, yep, okay, I'm talking to lead, I'm making progress. Not necessarily, because if that lead came from somewhere that they really don't know about you, or their budget is just unrealistically low, it's like ridiculously low, and they're not, going to be a good fit for you guys in the long run. People need to learn how to start disqualifying their prospects, right? They need to learn how to do that, because in the end of the day, that's going to save you time, which is far more valuable than money, right? You could be putting your time into other things in the business. So having a call like that, or having, that transparency, so somebody can see if they're thinking, oh yeah, I want to do this for 20 grand. Oh my God, it's going to cost me 60, 70. Yeah, that's not in my budget right now. There's nothing I could do. Having that way to disqualify somebody, or just being very upfront with them, saying, hey, this is, typically what this runs roughly. I just want to let you know that, up front, so we can, start working together as soon as possible, or, bring up any questions you have for me. Start disqualifying people that you think aren't a good fit, but ask the questions, because you don't know unless you ask. You need to ask budget. You need to ask about timeline. You need to ask about expectations that they have of you guys, because that might save you the difference between having a nightmare client where they're just horrible the whole time, they're up in your business all the time, or, obviously never having to deal with that experience at all.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, every contractor should have a lead form they fill out with questions, and have a process for that. But ironically, the name of your business is empathy. The way you don't get people mad at you for treating, so how do you say no to a client that it just expects you to come out? Right? I mean, it's learning how to say, we're not the right fit, or let me refer you to somebody else, or why don't I send you our price guide and then you can give me a call back. I had a client 4 years ago call me up and say, hey, I have 2 bathrooms I want to do, and I have 15 grand to do it. I'm like, back then, now it's way more, but I'm like, well, 2 bathrooms are going to be double that, if not more. And she's like, okay, well, can we set up a time? I'm like, why would we set up a time? It doesn't sound like we're, I said it in a very nice way. It doesn't sound like we're the right fit for what you want to do. Well, can you do a portion of it? No, we do start to finish with permits and all that stuff. And she's like, well, I can't, I don't have any more money. I'm like, okay. It was a hard conversation, right? She left me a horrible review on Yelp. And so I used that review and I said, I apologize if I came off anything but helpful, but if it's not a right fit, I don't want to waste either. And so I used it as a way to market for the next person that reads that review, right? So you take that review and say, so we understand that we're not the right fit for everyone. Our goal in that first call is not to be rude. It's actually to be helpful. We try to refer other people. And the whole idea is if we're not the right fit, we're not going to meet with you. So people that read it are a better qualified lead, right? And they see, and I also spend a lot of time trying to get good leads, right? You don't want just one bad lead, but if I have 30 good leads, you know that people look at that one bad lead and want to read what it says, right? And how I responded to it. So yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's definitely a challenge. There have been times where I go out to the job because I cannot find a way to say nicely no, that they're very persistent and it's a waste of my time. It's rare, but I will. A lot of times I'll go to that and I won't send my designers out there because they'll get mad at me. They're like, why are you wasting my time? So, I mean, I try to connect with people. I care. I really do care about people. So I don't ever want to be rude to anybody. That's just, I mean, there's too many other root contractors out there. And so I try to find ways to do that. But a lot of times people will call me back a year later and say, you mentioned, it was 60 grand. We're going to take a loan and we save some more money. We're ready to do that. And then little do they know it's, oh yeah, now it's another 5% more, you know what I mean? When they wait. But the bottom line is that so my goal is like, we have a page on our website that's not indexed that I send out. That's a referral page. Like we don't do handyman work. I've got a couple of handyman on there. If they were just calling to just do tile work, I send them a local tile shop, because they can give you names if they want. So I try to say, well, I can send you my referral page. Would that be helpful? Yeah. And so we just try to find ways to say no gently and feel like they're gaining something in that process.
Exactly. And a lot of the times you do that the right way, like it sounds like you're doing, you can turn, that person into a client down the road. Like when you said they'll call you back with more money because you helped them out. You still fixed their problem, but you didn't have to take that on. You didn't take the time on yourself. You say, oh yeah, it sounds good. I actually have a person that would be a great fit for you. Let me introduce you to. And then just like that, you're helping them out. So they're very happy about that. And obviously, you're still kind of saving your time and making sure your time is, everybody's time is used effectively. And then backtracking a little bit here, Bryan, something we talked about earlier was some software as service, right? Like HubSpot, for example. You mentioned HubSpot. How important is that stuff to invest in within your business? Because I know you've talked a little bit about this, right? The technology space for contractors and remodelers is sketchy. So they don't necessarily trust it all the time. They don't understand it all the time. But from your experience, how important has like HubSpot being able to track that stuff, or like Mailgun or whatever, mailing software you use been?
So, it's all about a value proposition, right? So, I mean, HubSpot's a good example where I tried the full service for me and it was not a good value for me because it was very expensive when I tried it. I think it's gone down in price, but, and I've heard they've added a lot more things. So maybe something I look into again. I use HubSpot's WordPress plugin. That's free. So it doesn't cost anything. So, one thing I would tell you, WordPress, and I don't know if are you a WordPress person?
No, we do all HTML stuff.
For me, for a contractor that works on their site, WordPress is very valuable to me because anything I want to add, I can find a plugin. I know there's pros and cons to WordPress, but I'm a huge believer in WordPress. It's one of the more websites I think than any other are built with.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
So as far as someone trying to do that on their own, I would suggest WordPress. But I think I'm probably maybe not an innovator, but I'm one step behind. Like I'm maybe not the first person to try new things, but I'm real close to that. So I'm always trying to find new things to help. I mean, there's tools like, if you heard of Meet Edgar, have you heard of that tool?
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about someone on your team.
No. Meet Edgar or SocialBee. Good example. Those are evergreen posting, automatic. You can fill up a bucket of posts from your website and automatically does it for you on a calendar. And when you add a new post, you could throw it in a bucket and it adds it to the cycle. So you can use evergreen content and recycle it on your social media. And so there's tons of those tools. It's just what are you willing to pay for it? It starts to add up. It's all value based. And so tech wise, yes, I mean, there are many things that are very valuable to us that wouldn't be valuable to another remodeler because he doesn't want to have the time to do it. So
exactly. So, and again, that's a free plugin, right? So they're providing value to you and they're most likely going to turn you into a client sometime down the road again.
Yeah. I mean, I tried them originally for a year when I worked with an agency back. That was part of that what I did with that 15,000, and it was too expensive for me monthly for what I was getting for it, right? But I've heard they're adding more again. They're adding more value. It's all what it's about. They're going to gain more clients with more value. I mean, what do I gain with that? With a CRM, and it's making more robust CRM. I have a custom CRM I use just using Microsoft Access that we all use for new clients and stuff, and it tracks all my marketing and all that stuff. And HubSpot does a lot. But as we grow, I'm using like Microsoft Access is a little archaic. It's not as advanced as a HubSpot where they're spending all this money to constantly make it better. So eventually I may move to that, So yeah, I agree. That's how do you gain remodeling clients or any type of business owner is give free content to tell people your worth and what you do. And then eventually they'll pay for it.
Exactly. And since we're kind of on this topic of like technicality and taking implementables away here, which is really important. I think this is a super, super, super value driven episode for people who are looking to, finally get their digital marketing dialed in. But let's talk about like mailing for a second here. Do you guys do like email blasts? Do you do like a mailing list? Because it sounded earlier like you did do stuff like that.
I have, that's one thing I pay someone to do. We only really do email blasts. I do have, signups. I've got some content on there. I've not really pushed that. I do have an email list. Most of what I do with email blasts are past clients. I feel like that's worth the money to try to get in front of their face. And actually it's led to work this last year. We're starting to recycle clients from 15 years ago, right? They're like, yeah, you did my basement back when my kids were in high school, and now they have their own kids, and now we're ready to do our kitchen, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. So that has helped. So they're on a list that we do monthly. We do, again, I hate the term newsletter type things. It's just a simple email with some content in it and saying, hey, if you need something done, we do this, this, and this, and get in front of their face. So we do that. We do a lot of social media as well, but email marketing I have a lot of head trash around it. I don't know if you've heard of that expression, head trash. But email marketing, I get so many emails that I try not to do too many of them because I feel like there's other avenues to get in front of people's faces. So we do a little bit of it. Let's put it that way.
Totally.
But someone else does that. I pay someone very affordable to do that.
And I don't think it's like something that will make or break your company, but I do think that it's a piece of the puzzle or a piece of, the Lego tower, whatever you want to call it, that will get you up to that point. I think it's something definitely not to neglect, but there are other things that should be in place before that, to make sure that everything runs smoothly. The syntax has to be correct, right? You wouldn't start email marketing without having a website, let's say, right? Like it all comes in at a certain point.
Yeah. I mean, I think nowadays, if you don't have a website, it's like not having a business card. You know what I mean? I think you need to spend the money. If you got to be really small not to have a website.
If you don't have a website, it's like not having a business almost.
Nowadays, yes. I mean, especially, you can use Google My Business. But the first thing I do when I go to Google My Business is click the website button, right?
Everybody.
I want to go further and see what they do. So yeah, I get tons of people asking like, what are you doing to gain marketing? Like there's no silver bullet. Unfortunately, that's the problem with this. It's a shotgun approach. You have to, kind of do multiple and see what works and see what doesn't. And sometimes it works for a little while and then it stops. There was a period of time back in 2001, beginning part of my business, I was in a magazine and I was killing it in the magazine. Lasted until about 2005, 6, and I held on to it for like 2 extra years that I wasted the money. Because I'm like, well, I was doing well before, and no one was calling me from it. And so that's the thing is with marketing, it's constantly evolving. And as a business owner, we have to pay attention to what's working, what's not. I'm always paying attention to the next thing of especially affordability. A lot of people don't realize, I'm sure you're dealing with it, but we're right on the cusp of Facebook, not really the retargeting not working anymore for Facebook. And is the value for Facebook going to be there? Well, I don't know. I don't know if it will. I'm not investing in Facebook right now. Let's put it that way. With Apple taking away iPhones taking away the whole Facebook privacy issue, that's a big deal that no one's really talking about. And so I use retargeting all the time. I tell people that should be a minimum. Set up a retargeting campaign for a couple $100 a month and just have it sit there. And now that could change. So there's a lot of things that are changing with just privacy policies and all this stuff that's going to be even harder to market to people. So what's next? What's coming next? Is it TikTok? Is it, you, I mean, YouTube is very flooded, right? But there's not a lot of remodelers on there. There's some, but what is the next thing that makes sense in our demographics? My demographic is 35 to 65 year olds, maybe a little younger to 30, but mostly 35, someone with a couple kids, someone that, husband and wife, normally married. It can be anything, but it's usually both of them are very busy, don't have the time. They want to hire the right person. They may have hired someone in their 30s that they went with the cheapest guy and he screwed them, or they got poor quality and now they just want to pay for it to be done right. And so knowing your ideal client, your customer persona is really important too. So TikTok 2 years ago or a year ago, probably not a good idea. Now, yeah, it's starting to skew a little older, right? There's moms on there and older people on there, and you can do it in a different way. So there's other things you can do, but a year and a half ago, no way. So understanding how it's changing and staying involved and just being abreast of that is a good thing.
And that brings up a great point of, if you end up hiring somebody to do your digital marketing, you end up hiring, somebody else even in-house to do your digital marketing, reevaluate every single month, right? Take a look at what's happening, because yes, digital marketing changes like that. I mean, it's quick, right? It changes all the time. It's probably one of the fastest changing industries day by day. It's really, really quick. So making sure that you're reevaluating and seeing exactly the analytics. If your digital marketing company, agency, whatever, isn't tracking, huge red flag, right? Huge red flag, because you need to be tracking in this industry to actually succeed. If you can't see what the results are of what you're doing, you can't see the output to your input, you're spinning your wheels. You don't know where you're going. And then something changes, like the iOS 14 update that cuts out, it makes it harder to do all that stuff on Facebook. You never know.
Well, it's funny. I'm seeing digital marketing agencies starting to, with this free content, starting to help train to do sales. Because the problem is that I may get the leads, but if they don't lead to work, I'm going to fire you, right? Leads are good, but if I'm not getting any work, okay, I don't have any money left. And so I'm starting to see them go down the rabbit hole of, we need to make you better at getting clients, not just leads. And so, yeah, I mean, monthly reviews. I'll be honest, when I tell other guys, because again, we don't use a digital marketing, but when they do, I said, if they're not prepared to show you analytics and set up regular meetings. House used to do this. Houses, I'm not involved with House anymore, but years ago when they first started, they had monthly meetings with a rep and said, this is what's happening, this is what's going well, this is what's not. Can you do this? Can you make this better? I mean, that was really good. They've changed what they're doing. That it doesn't really fit what I want to do anymore. But in the beginning, they did that to say, see, we're valuable. We're teaching you how to get more clients. We're going to try to through the House platform, but and they did that on a regular basis. So in digital marketing, the more you can connect with someone like me to say, this is what's happening, this is what we need to do better, this is what we're going to work on, this is what you need to do for us to get more leads, the more you become a partner. And so over 20 years, the people that I'm the most loyal to did things to help become a partner. I'll give you an example. Years ago, when we were doing a ton of granite, now we do everything Caesar's, quartz. When we were doing a ton of granite, the hardest thing about granite is that I couldn't price it because it was all over the spectrum in pricing. So I went to a local rep. I said, I need you to create me a brochure of levels. I'll give you my pricing levels, A, B, C, and D. I want a brochure. I can hand it to a client and say, I priced level A. And they said, okay. So they took that and they did that, and they would update it yearly. They would update with new colors. And so they were my partner. I would never go anywhere else because they were the one that did that. So the more we can partner with an agency that we're on the same team, that we're, trying to do the same thing, would be a better situation where I think is a dynamic of, you just give me some money and I'll try to get you some leads. And then a year later, you're going to leave. And partnerships are the better way to go, for sure.
You're right, 100%. And like at the same time, to that extent, like having the partnership, but having something built out for you, right? Not a cookie cutter solution, not something where they give to 10 people, maybe it works with 2. No, learning about exactly what you guys actually need, exactly what your goals are, where you're at in the business right now, and then building that plan for you, presenting it to you guys to see if it would make sense. Because if you take that cookie cutter approach, you're going to get the cookie cutter results, right? You're going to go real wide, but not very deep. Where if you have something built out for you, your situation, they understand exactly where you guys want to go and where you're at now. And they have to piece together how they're going to get you there. That's something else to look for too, because a lot of the times, you can have success to some extent with copy paste. Absolutely. You can, right? There are some things that just work. But what really 10X is that growth and that revenue and those appointments that turn into closed projects is really working with you guys to not just, get you the leads, coach you up on sales stuff, coach you up on that side of things, coach you up on the follow-up, like all that stuff. If it's something you're not familiar with, or that's a weak spot in your business, that needs to be tackled first, because you could be talking to awesome leads, but if you can't close them and, it's just an issue on your team, well, that's too easy. That's something to address right then and there. Because in this space, it's easy nowadays in the digital realm to link up with anybody anywhere in the world, right? Getting a sales coach. If your marketing agency has onboard staff, or they have very successful, entrepreneurs who they talk with, that's an easy connection right there. And there you go. Now you've just 10x your close rate, maybe, a little dramatic, but you've raised it a substantial amount. And now you're actually reaping the benefits of those leads that you couldn't reap before.
Yeah, have you heard it? Yeah, so like years ago, I took Sandler training. Have you heard of Sandler training? Yeah, a lot of successful remodelers have taken that course. It can be up to a year long, and it's very process driven. It's very, are we the right fit for what you want? And if not, we'll shake hands and go away, type of thing. So yeah, so that's marketing and sales training are the two things that remodelers don't tend to do. And they go hand in hand, and they're the lifeblood. Not only you need marketing, you need leads, but you also need to close them. And it's definitely harder to close digital marketing leads compared to referrals, right? And past clients. And so yeah, getting that training is good value and worth the money as well. So I would highly recommend that to any remodeler for sure.
Absolutely. And Bryan, we'll start wrapping up here, brother, but where can we learn more about you? Where can we learn more about Sebring, design, build, remodel at?
Well, I have a website. It's sebringdesignbuild.com. If anybody wants to reach out to me I get a lot of people calling me. And I'm a believer that you pay it forward. You talked about mentorship. I had mentors. So now, and I still do, I would say now, I like to pay it forward, because you can't really normally help the mentor. You know what I mean? They're normally helping you unless you have a paid mentor. But so I feel like helping other people kind of pays it forward. So you can reach out to me. My email address is Bryan with a Y, Bryan@sebringdesignbuild.com. A lot of people listen to these podcasts and go, okay, that one thing you said, you didn't really go into expand. What do you do here? I get people calling me and emailing me all the time. And so I'm glad. I like connecting with other people, because I find that a lot of people looking for help, and then I realize they do something, and I'm like, can you help me? So many people, I've said this in so many podcasts, but you're not alone. Stop feeling like you're alone. There's a lot of really good Facebook groups. There's a lot of really good people out there that want to connect. We're in a connection society now. 10 years ago, everyone kind of did their own little thing, and we're all competitors. I don't care where you are. I'm not going to talk to anybody nowadays. It's much more open, which is great. For sure. So.
Totally. So guys, as always, I'll link that stuff down there. If you're in the industry, Bryan is a fantastic person to talk to, very knowledgeable about the digital side of things, but also you need to check out his website. You have to, because I was spending more time than I do on a lot of websites, just reading about there's a ton of content here. And if you're in this space, this is something you should model. You should model the content. You should model how they kind of set things up, because this is something that I can already tell is very effective. They have a lot of really good, content. They have the gallery. They have all that stuff in there. So take a look at what a good interior remodeling, end-to-end site looks like. This is a great example. And Bryan, thanks for your time today, brother. I know that we're both busy, so I appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah. Good to talk to you, man.
Awesome.